Alright guys, welcome back to Daring Motors. Today we are going over alignment basics and also how to do a front end alignment using just this tape measure right here. This is to check it, and if we're going to adjust it, we're going to use these two wrenches right here, and that's all we're going to need to adjust our toe on our car. Alright, now before we get into the alignment, I will be having a special announcement coming out next week in next week's video, so stay tuned for next week's video because I'll have a very special announcement coming. But before we get to the alignment down below the car, let's get inside and get the steering wheel straight. Alright, so before we do our alignment, we need to make sure that our steering wheel is straight. So we'll get this straightened out. And so that way, while we're adjusting everything, when we finish up, the steering wheel will be going straight. That way we won't have to keep the steering wheel like this just to go straight on the road. Now, if you want to make sure your steering wheel is straight the whole time you're adjusting, what you can do is you can take your seat belt, pull it as far out as you can get it. Just like this, and then you're going to go feed it through the bottom here. Once you feed it through the bottom, you're going to pull it through, pull it around. You're going to pull it around, and then you're just going to click it right here in your seatbelt, just like that. And that way, while you're making adjustments, your steering wheel will stay still, just like that. All right, now before we get into the alignment, we're just going to take a look at the tires the way they are. And basically there are three things to your alignment. There's something called caster, which tells you how much your wheel, if you draw a line straight up and down, it tells you how much your wheel goes like this or like this. And then the second thing that you'd adjust is camber. And the way camber is your tires are able to be in like this, which would be negative camber, or out like this, which would be positive camber. And then the last thing we're going to talk about is toe. And toe is what we're going to be doing today with just this tape measure and wrenches. So if you look in, the best way to describe toe is to look at your feet. So if you have your feet here, this would be toe in if you're looking from the back of your car, and this would be toe out if you're looking from the back of your car. So right now, our tires look pretty straight, but we got to take some measurements first. But normally you want your car to be a little bit toe in, and I'll go over that in a little bit. Alright, so the way I'm going to check the alignment with only using this tape measure here is I'm going to pick a spot here on the tire. So I can pick this tread pattern right here, this tread pattern here, or this one here, but it just has to be the exact same on the other tire on the other side of the car. So I'm going to pick this one here in the middle. I'm just going to lock my tape measure on it just like that. Alright, so I'm just going to get this tape measure on the tire here. I'm going to go all the way across the other side. Okay, so now we're on the other side of the car. What we're going to do is we're going to hold this tape measure tight. We're going to come in right here. I'm going to zoom in as best I can for you. We're going to be right here, and we're looking at the same exact tread that we chose on the other side. Alright, so if we look really closely right here, we can see the tire tread is about 63 inches and, as it looks like, yep, 62 and 1/8. 63 inches, 63 and 1/8 inch. We have on the front end here. And also something you want to make sure you do is when you're measuring this, try and keep your tape measure level so you're at the same exact spot on the tire. Alright, so now I'm at the back of the tire, and I'm going to want to do the same exact thing. So I'm going to want to pick a spot right here on the tire and go across to the other side. This time I'm going to kind of feed this across to the other side just to make it a little easier on myself. Alright, so I have the tape measure pulled across here, and if you look really closely we can see that we're about 62 and 3/4, maybe one above that. So right now we currently have some toe out, which we don't want. So we're going to adjust that so that way we can have some toe in on this car. Alright, so when we're doing our alignment, we're going to want to come underneath the car. So we'll come down to under the car, and we're going to come over and look over where the wheel is. So if you look in here, we have a bunch of suspension stuff, but the thing you're going to want to look for is this right here, which is your tie rod end. So it looks kind of like this with most cars and trucks, and you're going to look for this nut right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to loosen up this nut. It's called a jam nut so that this can't move. And once we loosen that up, we can adjust our alignment on our toe. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my 2 wrenches here. One's going to go on this nut right here, which I'll get set up first. So that is on there. Then I'm going to get my other wrench. I'm going to hold the tie rod still. It's going to sit right here on the tie rod where the little squares are. And now I'm just going to use all the force I can. Oh, there. All right, so I got this loose. So I got this right here, got it loose. All right, so you can see this nut right here is loose. So you just loosen that up a little bit by hand. Just get it separated from this tie rod. Just like that. Grip onto this part right here. And we're gonna turn this so it goes into the tie rod. The reason we're gonna go in is because we had toe out. So when we screw this in, it's gonna make this shorter and pull the front of the tire in towards the car. All right, so I may have lied about just using those 2 inches because we will need this as well to get onto this and spin it. So we're going to go in to the tie rod just like this. And I'm just going to rotate it about a full turn. So there's half. And there's 1 full turn, just like that. And now, I'm not going to tighten this up all the way, but I'm going to get this nut kind of back close to the tie rod end, just like this, and kind of keep it there. And then I'm going to do the same exact thing on the other side of the car. All right, now that we got both sides just a little bit, we're going to go back and check our alignment again just to see the kind of adjustments we made. But before we do that, I'm just going to turn the car on and turn the wheels back and forth a couple times, just to move forward and backwards a couple times, just to kind of let everything settle in so the adjustments will show up. All right, now I'm going to do the same thing, measure from the same exact spots that I did before. All right, so on the front, I got 62 and right between 3/4 and 7/8. 13/16. There we go. Quick math right there. So I got 62 and 13/16 on the front. So I'm going to do the back side and then we'll compare. All right, so now we did the back and we're looking right here and it's almost exactly 63. So actually, I'd say it is exactly 63 inches. So we have a difference of 3/16 of an inch. So now we're going to go and compare what that means to our degrees. All right, so I have this chart right here that shows what the difference between inches and degrees are. So right here, I had 3/16 of an inch on my toe, so I had 0.46 degrees of toe. But I'm supposed to have 0.1 degrees of toe, which is way in here. So I'm gonna have to go back under, dial in a little bit more, and push it out so I can get in between that range. So I'll get to that now. All right, so if you look right here, this is nice and tight right there. It's sitting at about 63 and 3/16 of an inch right there. So you can see it's right here on this little dot right there's where it's sitting. Now let's go check the back of the tire and see what we have. All right, so now we're on this side. So if we're looking right here, we're sitting at 63 and 1/8 right there. Which is perfect. So we have 1/16 of a difference from back to rear. So I have 1/16 of a toe in, or maybe a little bit more, but because I have that, we have 0.1 degrees of toe. All right, so right here we're at 1/16 of toe, so we're maybe a little bit less. So we're right below this 0.16 degrees of toe. So that way we are in our alignment specs, because this is plus or minus 0.06, so we made it just in there. All right, now the last thing we're going to want to do before we put anything down is we're going to want to tighten these lock nuts back up, because if we don't tighten these down, it could be a long day when our tie rod falls off when we can't steer. So we're going to get the wrench on there, get this wrench on there. We're just going to tighten them the best we can by hand. Just like that, tight as I can go. Now I'm going to the other side. I'm just going to tighten this up. Just like that. All right. So that's not loose. That's not loose at all. It's nice and tight. And we are all done with doing our front end toe alignment. All right, guys. And that car is right there, all lined up and perfect, ready to drive. And all we did it with was these few tools and just a tape measure. No special alignment tools were needed for doing this. So if you guys have any questions on this or comments on how I did this alignment, go ahead and leave them in the comment section below. But if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe. And make sure to stay tuned for next week because we got a big announcement coming. All right, thanks, guys.